Level 1. The Seminarian. You're kneeling in a confessional booth at 2:47 in the morning, and the man on the other side of the screen is describing where he buried his cousin. Not metaphorically. He's giving you GPS quality directions. East of the drainage ditch behind the old meatpacking plant on Garfield Avenue, 3 feet down, wrapped in a tarp he bought at the hardware store on 5th, paid cash, $11.49. And you can't tell anyone. Not the police, not the bishop, not the family still pinning flyers to telephone poles 6 blocks from your church. That's the sacramental seal. That's canon law 1388. You break it, you're automatically excommunicated, no hearing, no appeal. Done. You're 34 years old. You were ordained 3 years ago at St. Benedict's Cathedral in a city with a population of 310,000, a poverty rate of 31%, and a murder clearance rate of 38%. That last number means that for every 10 people killed in this city, 6 killers walk. You serve a parish in the Brenton Heights neighborhood, 12 blocks, 4,200 residents. Median household income, $19,400. 2 liquor stores for every grocery store. Your congregation averages 140 on Sundays, down from 300 when the previous priest retired. Before seminary, you were a social worker. 8 years in child protective services. You saw what poverty does when it compounds. How a missed electric bill becomes a missed meal becomes a missed childhood. You didn't leave because you stopped caring. You left because caring without power felt like watching someone drown from behind a window. The priesthood was supposed to give you a different kind of authority. Moral authority. Spiritual leverage. So when the man in the confessional finishes talking, you hear him breathing. You give him absolution because that's what the sacrament requires. He leaves. You sit in the dark booth for another 40 minutes. You know where a body is. You know who put it there. You can do nothing with either piece of information. That was 3 years ago. That was the first time. Level 2. The shepherd. The neighborhood teaches you things. Seminary didn't. You learn that the 14-year-old altar server who shows up early every Sunday does it because his apartment has no heat and the church does. You learn that the woman who organizes the food pantry is also quietly running numbers out of her kitchen because her disability check is $837 a month and her insulin costs $400. You learn that the gang that controls the 4 blocks around Garfield Avenue, the Brenton Kings, isn't an invasion force. It's composed entirely of boys who sat in your pews as children. Their leader is a 26-year-old named Deshaun Okafor. He was confirmed at your church at 13. He controls a heroin and fentanyl operation generating an estimated $80,000 a week in revenue. He also paid for 3 funerals last year when families couldn't afford them. He also put a bullet in a 19-year-old's spine over a territorial dispute on Maple Street. Deshaun starts coming to you, not for confession, for conversation. He sits in the front pew on Tuesday nights when the church is empty and talks about logistics, personnel problems, risk management. He talks about the gang the way a franchise owner talks about operations. You listen. You're a priest. Listening is the job. Then he asks you for something. Not money, not absolution. A meeting space, neutral ground. He wants to negotiate a ceasefire with the Eastwick Royals. 7 people have died in the last 4 months. He needs a place neither side associates with the other. He needs your church basement. You say yes. You tell yourself it's peacemaking. Blessed are the peacemakers. Matthew 5:9. The meeting happens on a Wednesday evening. 12 men sit in folding chairs where the AA group meets on Thursdays. You stand at the head of the room. You mediate. The ceasefire holds. Nobody dies for 11 weeks. 11 weeks in Brenton Heights is a miracle by any statistical measure. Leonard, Deshaun brings you an envelope, $5,000. You take it. You deposit it in the parish maintenance fund. You tell yourself the money is clean the moment it serves a clean purpose. That was the logic. That was the hinge. Level 3. The intermediary. Within 6 months, you're the most effective neutral party in Brenton Heights. You broker 3 more sit-downs. You develop a reputation. Father Torres keeps his mouth shut, doesn't judge, understands business. The money flows. Not to you personally. You still live on your $28,000 parish salary. And I still sleep in the rectory's cramped second-floor apartment. Still drive the same 2011 Civic with 187,000 miles. But the parish transforms. The roof gets fixed. The food pantry doubles its inventory. You hire an after-school coordinator. You start a GED program. You install a security camera system that costs $4,200, paid for by a donation from a man who sells fentanyl for a living. People notice the changes. The diocese notices. Bishop Ramirez calls you personally to commend the parish's community revitalization efforts. He doesn't ask where the money comes from. Nobody does. Poverty makes people incurious about generosity. You meet Elena. She's a social worker assigned to the neighborhood. Your old profession, your old agency. She's 31, sharp, committed, not naive. She runs a youth diversion program out of a community center 4 blocks from your church. She sends kids your way. You send families hers. You develop a partnership that becomes a friendship that becomes something you don't let yourself name because you took a vow. Elena is the one who notices first, not the money, the access. She sees Deshaun's lieutenant drop off supplies for the food pantry in a brand new Escalade. She sees men she knows are gang affiliated, treating you with a deference that goes beyond respect for the caller. She doesn't say anything yet. She files it away. Level 4. The architect. 18 months in, and you've crossed a line you didn't feel yourself crossing. You're no longer mediating disputes. You're structuring them. Deshaun comes to you before making moves, not after. You advise him on risk. Which corners draw too much police attention? Which operations are sloppy enough to generate the kind of violence that brings federal task forces? You frame it as harm reduction. Fewer bodies, fewer grieving mothers in your pews. And it works. Homicides in Brenton Heights drop 40% in a single miracle year. The local news runs a segment about the miracle priest. You understand things now that would make a DEA agent's stomach turn. You know that heroin arrives in the city through a trucking company that hauls legitimate freight along I-95 and charges $12,000 per kilogram for transport. You know that cash gets cleaned through a chain of laundromats, 4 locations, $3.2 million annually moved through inflated revenue reports. Though you know that the Kings pay a monthly retainer of $2,500 to a police sergeant named Garza, who ensures patrol units avoid specific blocks during specific hours. You don't touch the drugs. You don't handle the cash beyond the parish donations. You don't carry a weapon. You don't give direct orders. You exist in the negative space. Your protection is the collar. Your shield is canon law, and the parish thrives. Sunday attendance climbs to 220. The after-school program serves 35 kids daily. You perform 14 baptisms in a single spring. For the first time in a decade, the diocese isn't talking about consolidating St. Augustine's with another parish. You're saving a church. You're saving a neighborhood. Zach, you're doing it with drug money and strategic counsel to a man who has ordered at least 2 killings that you know of. Corruption doesn't feel like corruption when the food pantry is full. Level 5, the crack. The mistake is a 16-year-old named Jalen Watts. He's a runner for the Kings, low-level, disposable, the kind of kid who carries small quantities between stash houses for $200 a day. Jalen gets picked up on a Tuesday night by a plainclothes unit doing a sweep near Franklin Park. He's holding 14 grams of fentanyl, enough for distribution charges, enough for a mandatory minimum of 5 years if prosecuted as an adult. Jalen's mother is in your congregation. She cleans the church on Saturday mornings for $75 a week cash. She calls you from the precinct, hysterical. You make a call, not to a lawyer, to Deshawn. And Deshawn makes a call. Jalen is released 6 hours later. The charges don't disappear, they just stall. Paperwork gets lost. The arresting officer's report contains discrepancies that a public defender could exploit. Sergeant Garza earns his retainer, but Jalen talks, not to police, to a girl he's trying to impress. He tells her Father Torres made 1 phone call and he walked out. The girl tells her older brother, the brother tells a friend. The friend is an informant for the DEA's Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, a unit with a $536 million annual budget and 2,800 agents dedicated to dismantling exactly the kind of operation you've helped build. You don't know any of this yet. You're preparing a homily on the parable of the talents. The irony would be unbearable if you could see it. Level 6, the subject. The task force has been monitoring the Kings for 7 months before your name surfaces. They have wiretaps on 11 phones. They have surveillance footage from 4 fixed cameras and 2 mobile units. Your name appears in a transcript on a Thursday. A mid-level distributor named Cortez mentions the father in a call intercepted at 9:17 p.m. Check with the father first. That's all it takes. 3 words. A background check pulls your seminary records, your ordination documents, your parish assignment. An analyst maps your phone's location data against known gang activity sites. While the overlap is damning, not enough for a warrant, enough for interest. They assign a dedicated surveillance team. 2 agents. They attend your Sunday Mass. They photograph everyone who enters the rectory. They pull your financial records, the parish accounts, the maintenance fund, the donation ledgers, the $5,000 deposits, the $3,000 deposits, the $7,500 deposit that coincided exactly with the ceasefire you brokered. Elena notices the new faces at Mass. She recognizes the posture, the ill-fitting clothes, the way they scan the room instead of looking at the altar. She's worked adjacent to law enforcement long enough to recognize plainclothes agents. She comes to you on a Monday evening. She stands in the rectory kitchen and asks you directly, not "Are you in trouble?" She asks, "How deep are you in this?" Your hands are steady. Your voice is even. You tell her you don't know what she's talking about. She looks at you for a long time. She doesn't believe you. She leaves without finishing her coffee. That silence between you costs more than any dollar amount you've ever handled. Level 7, the target. The investigation accelerates. A federal grand jury convenes. Subpoenas go out. Deshawn's inner circle starts fracturing under pressure. 2 lieutenants take plea deals. They give up the money laundering operation, the laundromats, Sergeant Garza. They give up the supply chain, and they give up the advisory structure. They describe a priest who brokers peace deals, advises on operational security, and facilitates communication between rival organizations. They get a court order to place a listening device in the rectory's meeting room. 3 weeks later, you sit in that room with Deshawn and discuss the Eastwick situation. A new crew is pushing into their territory from the south side. Deshawn wants to respond with force. You talk him down. You suggest a financial solution, offer the new crew a distribution agreement, a percentage, a seat at the table. You lay out the terms with the precision of a corporate negotiator. Revenue splits, territory lines, enforcement protocols. Every word is recorded. Every word is a federal crime. Conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. Aiding and abetting a continuing criminal enterprise. RICO violations carrying a maximum of 20 years. Oh, the raid happens on a Wednesday. 5:48 a.m., DEA agents, U.S. Marshals, local SWAT. 14 simultaneous arrests across the city. Deshawn is taken from his mother's house. You are arrested in the rectory. You're wearing a black t-shirt and pajama pants. They let you put on shoes. They don't let you put on the collar. An agent reads you your rights while you stand in the hallway beneath a crucifix you hung yourself 3 years ago. Level 8, the defendant. The diocese responds within 24 hours. You are suspended from all priestly duties pending the outcome of the investigation. Bishop Ramirez releases a statement expressing shock and profound sadness. He does not visit you. He does not call. Your public defender is a woman named Sandra Chen. She's competent pregnant, overworked, managing a caseload of 114 active cases. She reviews the evidence in a conference room at the federal courthouse and tells you the truth without decoration. The recordings are devastating. Your voice, your words, your strategic fluency in the mechanics of drug distribution. No jury in the country acquits on this. She offers you the math. Cooperate fully, testify against Deshawn and the remaining defendants, and the U.S. attorney will recommend 3 to 5 years. Go to trial and lose, and you're looking at 12 to 15. You think about the confessional. You think about every secret you've held. And how you think about the sacramental seal, the idea that some information is sacred, that trust is architecturally load-bearing, that if you break it, everything built on it collapses. You kept the seal for murderers. You kept it for men who described acts that gave you nightmares for weeks. You kept it because the structure mattered more than any individual truth. Deshawn calls you from county. The call is monitored, and you both know it. He doesn't ask you to stay quiet. He asks if the after-school program is still running. You tell him you don't know. He's quiet for a while. Then he says they'll shut it down. He's not talking about the feds. He's talking about the diocese. He's right. Within 2 weeks, St. Augustine's after-school program closes. The food pantry reduces hours to twice a week. The GED program loses its coordinator. The things that worked, the things that helped, dismantled not because they were corrupt, but because their funding source was. Level 9, the penitent. You take the deal. 3 to 5 years. You testify. You sit in a federal courtroom and explain, in procedural detail, how a parish priest became the strategic advisor to a drug organization generating $4.2 million in annual revenue. You describe the meetings, the ceasefire negotiations, the financial advice, the phone calls. You do not describe the confessions. Sandra argued successfully that the sacramental seal is protected under the First Amendment. The court agrees. It's the only line you don't cross. Deshawn gets 22 years. He's 28 years old. He'll be 50 when he's eligible for parole. Sergeant Garza gets 8. The laundromat owners get 4 each. Cortez gets 6. Jalen Watts, like the 16-year-old whose loose talk started the unraveling, is sentenced as a juvenile. 2 years in a residential facility. Elena testifies as a character witness, not for you, for the neighborhood. She describes what Brenton Heights was before your intervention and what it became after. She's clinical, precise, utterly professional. She does not look at you, not once. After her testimony, she walks past your table and out of the courtroom. You watch the door close behind her. You serve 38 months at FCI Elkton, a low-security federal facility in eastern Ohio, population 2,100. You work in the prison library. You shelve books and process interlibrary loan requests. You do not perform any priestly functions. You do not wear a collar. Other inmates know what you are. Some come to you anyway, late at night in the bunk area, whispering things they've done, asking for something you no longer have the authority to give. You listen anyway. Listening is the only skill that survived. The diocese formally lay-sizes you 9 months into your sentence. The process takes 47 days. A letter arrives informing you that you are no longer a priest. The language is bureaucratic, passive, stripped of ceremony. You write it twice, fold it, and place it inside a copy of Graham Greene's novel that sits on your shelf. You chose that book deliberately. A story about a flawed priest seemed like the only appropriate container. Level 10, the civilian. You're released on a Tuesday in March. You're 41 years old. You have $312 in your commissary account, a bus ticket to the city, and a duffel bag containing 3 changes of clothes, a Bible with a cracked spine, and the green novel with the laicization letter still inside. You can't return to Brenton Heights. The terms of your supervised release prohibit contact with any co-defendants or known associates. The neighborhood where you built something flawed and compromised and real, is a restricted zone on your parole officer's map. You rent a studio apartment above a dry cleaner in a neighborhood on the west side of the city. Rent is $650 a month. You get a job stocking shelves at a building supply warehouse, $16.50 an hour. Your shift starts at 6 a.m. You wear a name badge that says Miguel, no title, no prefix, just a name. Elena's youth diversion program is still running. You check online occasionally from a computer at the public library. She received a grant from the city, $180,000 over 3 years. While the program serves 60 kids now, she never contacts you. You never contact her. The distance between you isn't anger. It's something quieter and more permanent. She trusted you, and you lied to her face in her favorite kitchen, and she will carry that specific betrayal longer than any federal charge ever could. On Sundays, you don't go to church. You walk to a park 3 blocks from your apartment and sit on a bench near a pond where old men feed pigeons. You watch the water. You think about the 140 people who used to sit in your pews, who trusted you to be the thing you told them you were. You think about the food pantry, the GED program, the baptisms, the after-school kids doing homework in the church basement. You think about how all of it was true and all of it was built on a lie, and how those 2 facts exist simultaneously without canceling each other out. A woman from the apartment downstairs brings you a plate of food sometimes. Rice, beans, chicken. She doesn't know your history. She thinks you're a quiet man who works at the warehouse and keeps to himself. She calls you Miguel. You thank her. You eat alone at a folding table by the window. The collar is in a box in your closet. You haven't opened the box. You don't throw it away either. Some things you keep not because they still belong to you, but because letting go of them would mean admitting you were never the person who wore them. And that's a confession you haven't figured out how to make, because the only person qualified to hear it is the person you used to be, and he doesn't exist anymore. You wash your plate, you set it in the drying rack. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Your shift starts at 6.